had another big day on Saturday, and that finished in some lemon squash eaters, and we forgot to do an outro.
What's a squash eater?
It's like a small lemon squash in a small bottle.
Oh, yeah, those ones.
Anyway, that's the wash up from it. We went through the car and pulled out 11,000 virtually bare wires that were routed through the middle of nowhere.
So that's only half of them, really. The other half still connected to gauges and shit.
I think we binned the rest of them.
Yeah.
That whole switch panel just went, see ya!
It was a fair pile. So we sort of cleaned it back to standard-ish under the dash, which is what we want. Now we're ready to sort of throw in our wiring and link it up. I got a little bit of fiddling to do here. I found some burnt out fusible links and stuff like that, and Jody got me the wiring diagram up on his computer program that they've got for US cars, and I found out what it was, and it probably burnt out because they had it plugged into some mega MSD box that drew thousands of times more current than it should have. So I'm just going to pull that back through and use it for the ignition source. It's straight from the ignition key. That can be just the switch source that goes to the Haltech fuse box. All we need is just a trigger. It doesn't carry any load or anything. It's all the loads carried by the relays in the Haltech fuse box. So I'll find that and pull it through in a second, and then we can sort of tidy this up. All this cut off stuff is actually where it used to link between the car wiring and the engine management wiring. They did come with different types of engines in them. So they had these would be the common stuff that would be, like tacos and speedos and stuff like that, and then it would all link across to whatever engine management system it had. So we don't really need any of that anyway. So that simplifies things. There's a dead fusible link there that was burnt out inside. They wrapped them inside the wiring loom, which is
strange. Some
form of insanity, but we'll let it go for now. This is going to stay inside the engine bay. It doesn't need to be outside anymore. This is cold over here. There's lots of rocks and crap smashing into them underneath because there's no guard liner, so we'll leave it inside the engine bay where it's meant to be. There's one other little thing we've got to do is, according to the rules, is the alternator charge wire has to go to the rear of the car on the opposite side of the battery isolator. So when they turn off the battery isolator, the alternator is blocked off as well, because if the engine's still running and there's some sort of meltdown and they switch off the battery isolator, the alternator will just keep the car running because it's creating a voltage. So we will delete that original wiring out of that front harness and run a specific wire to the rear, to the battery for that. That's just a
safety.
It's just a race car safety thing. So we've got a bit to do. We're going to try and bust into the container that the Cresta's in.
And he's pretty nervous about
this morning.
Whatever, can't do anything about it. The Mustang, obviously, because it was an old car, came with a cable throttle, not a e-throttle. We've gone and modified this Falcon pedal. This is from a BF2 Falcon. Unfortunately, we couldn't use the BRZ pedal like we did in my Cresta. This pedal setup actually has quite a good bias for a left-hand drive car. I'd almost hazard a guess and say that Ford Australia probably sourced this from something over here. We made this little bracket. It's actually quite similar to Jason's one on his Mustang. It mounts directly to the firewall and then mounts to the pedal. Pretty neat little thing. We actually made this at MPW in Melbourne, and then I think Abe tigged it up, or did you weld it?
I can't remember.
I think Abe welded this one, but yeah.
It's my handiwork, and then I stuffed it up and Abe fixed it for me.
We all worked together on this one. This was a bit of a team effort.
That's right.
So Woody started it, and he had the idea of trying to fold it out of one piece, which was quite a good idea, but unfortunately you've got to be mega accurate with that. And we're a little bit wide on the pedal width, so then I ended up folding this piece up, and now it fits like a glove, and then hopefully it'll bolt into the firewall with no dramas. I have noticed I forgot to die grind that weld down a little bit, but I'm sure it'll go in without too much drama. And I found these bolts floating around in our stash of stuff, which I think were originally actually to hold the throttle body to the manifold, but they'll hold the pedal to the bracket now, so we'll get that in, and then we'll have some e-throttle action. And then Alan has the fun job of wiring this up. Luckily, Haltech actually give you the pinout for this plug in the Barra Pro plug-in loom kit they supply. So that's a pretty handy little bit of information to have, because I couldn't actually find that data on the internet when I had a look. Admittedly, I didn't spend hours looking for it, but it wasn't something that popped up quickly when I did go for a hunt. So handy to have that information ready to access in the Haltech data itself.
Now you can get friendly with Alan and bolt that in there.
Oh, I hate under dash so much. At least there's no console in it now. I'm thinking about not having a console. What are your thoughts?
You need to have somewhere to rest your
lemon squash.
We're not driving it.
Who knows?
What was that, Alan?
I said we don't need shit, we're not driving it.
Grumpy Cat's out this morning.
Just spent a couple of hours just tidying up the factory wiring. It's not something you want to have to do on the side of the road. So, and also we're not in this car, so just a little bit of time spent now just getting rid of all the crap that people have done to it over the years, just resetting it back to normal, getting rid of the stuff that it doesn't need to be there anymore. And I've just stripped open that front loom and checked it all and retaped it and got rid of the alternator wiring out of it because it doesn't need that. We're going to run that straight to the rear of the car. So next we're going to stick the wiring loom for the engine in while it's on the ground. Plug that all in. I've got to replace the connectors for the injectors because they're different. And then once we get into the toolbox in the container or get the Cresta out, I can then hook up the rest of the wiring because all the Deutsch connectors and everything that we need are in those toolboxes. But in the meantime, we've still got battery cable to run. We've got a bulkhead connector to fit. We're going to put those spacers in for the crossmember. We just received them now. They did have just a stack of washers in there to get the height right. So we'll get it back up and fix all that stuff up while we're waiting, and hopefully we'll get all the tools we need tomorrow.
Maybe the Savo, if not tomorrow, hopefully.
I don't know.
That'll be really, really nice. Fingers crossed.
Phone's off, Benny.
Huh?
Phone's off.
Phone's off. Cresta's ready, bro. Let's go and get it.
Really?
Yeah, man.
Hell yeah.
Had an awesome day today. We've got heaps more done. We've got the front bar fitted. We've got the loom in. We've just chipped away heaps of little stuff that needed to be done. We cut our front bar holes in. But most importantly, we got our Cresta and all our stuff today. So Dragweek is go. So we're gonna be back here tomorrow. We've got to finish off the wiring with all the stuff we actually got out of the Cresta just then. And we may even start this thing tomorrow. So fingers crossed, and we'll see you guys in the morning.
Cutting that Punisher sticker out too or not?
Yeah, we'll hack the bar some more tomorrow. The Punisher's going in the bin. We'll put some speed holes in and then we'll make some ducting.
And we found out what the Punisher means now too.
The Punisher is a Marvel character.
The enemy of the enemy.
The enemy of the enemy. The enemy's mortal enemy or something, I don't know. Some dude at the markets was telling us about the Punisher. I don't know what it's about. Punisher doesn't really mean anything to us, so it's coming off.
Alright, see you tomorrow.
See you, homies. We're back again for another day down at Charleston Performance Solutions. The Cresta's safe and sound in the front car park. We're to the point where we're starting to put some fluids in this now. We've already got our engine oil in, which is a running oil that we just got from up the road. We do have our actual race engine oil that came with the Cresta. We've also got this low glycol based coolant or corrosion inhibitor. We don't use like a heavy glycol or a traditional coolant in motorsport vehicles because trying to clean the proper coolant up off the track, either the drag strip or the circuit's a massive issue, whereas this stuff just washes off with water. So some tracks actually test your coolant as well. I haven't seen it in Australia, but I have heard of it in America, so we've got to be pretty mindful of that. We didn't see it last year at Dragweek, but we're also at completely different tracks this year, so we don't want to go causing dramas, having to change fluids on the day. So we're yeah, just sort of trying to do preventative stuff to avoid dramas. Alan's cracking away with the wiring. We've got all our injector plugs changed this morning because we've gone to a Denso style injector connector.
So why'd you change your injector plugs, Al?
Because the Deechworks injectors had Denso plugs on them, and the Haltech loom had Bosch, generic Bosch plugs on them.
Okay then.
So
And what are you doing over
they
this
won't
side?
plug in.
What are you doing over this side of the car now?
Boost control solenoid.
Oh, that.
I got heaps of stuff to hook up.
And we're also going to change the hot dog sleeve today. I just can't.
The jerky stick.
Yeah, I can't deal with the jerky stick, so we're going to put some other fire sleeve which came over with the car as well. The same DCI fire sleeve that we used on the Cresta.
Oh yeah.
So we've got heaps of different sizes in this as well. So we're going to do the oil drain, the water feed to the turbo, and we're also going to do the boost controller lines so that it's no longer jerky red. I just can't deal with it.
You said yesterday that this might get started today. Was that being ambitious or what?
I think we're on track. Like we've got our injectors are all wired up. The boost control solenoid is getting wired as we speak.
Do we just have to like plug the Haltech
Pretty much
in,
the
or?
biggest wiring stuff we've still got to do is the starter and the alternator cable, and then do our rear fuse box install because at the moment the fuel pumps don't have any trigger wires or anything like that.
Okay, rightio.
So we've still got to do all of our boot wiring.
Yeah.
And we're actually going to put another fuse box in the boot for that, so it'll have its own relays and fuses or circuit breakers most likely in the boot.
It's looking pretty good, Benny. This is looking pretty sweet.
We're making good pace, man. I think
It's
we're
funny how Alan always says, like, you put stuff together and it looks really nice, and then you add like your catch can and your wiring.
as soon as you
and your
start to
oil
actually
feed.
populate the bay, it starts to look a bit messy, but
And no cover over the engine?
Nah, because we burnt my one last year. I don't have one on the Cresta this year either. I looked at getting a billet one, but they're like
a little bit melty last year, that was right.
Yeah, so we chaffed my one last year. Yeah, as I mentioned, there are billet aluminium ones available in Australia, but they're literally $1,000 for a coil cover, and I just can't justify it. So.
Spread the heat over the rest of the engine.
Yeah, exactly. It actually traps more heat over the coils, whereas this way you get more airflow. We've also fitted, I'm not sure if we mentioned before, but we've fitted some R35 Gt-R coils. There's all this buzzwords and stuff on the internet at the moment about these coils. These are 100% R35 Gt-R coils.
It's the Benny's Custom Works fitting kit too, isn't it?
Some bolts.
It looks good, man.
So yeah, more or less, these are actually a direct fit for the Barra. FG rocker cover only. The BABF is a completely different rocker cover that won't accept those coil packs. Basically, all you need to do is swap the FG coil stems directly onto those Gt-R coils. Then you need to drill out the mounting holes to 8.5mm. If you go 9mm, you'll actually blow through the sleeve and more than likely damage the coil. Ask me how I know.
Sounds like you know these.
Yeah, I've played this game before. So last time that happened, it resulted in me making a new sleeve. But yeah, 8.5mm is the magic number. And then all I used was just some studs in the rocker cover. You probably can use bolts, but I just used studs and some spacers and it got it in a really good position. I'm actually going to change the Cresta slightly after doing this to this one, because the Cresta one sits slightly differently, but doing it this way, it actually sits really good. So I'm probably going to do that in the next couple of days. It's got brand new plugs in it anyway, but we'll do this to make it a bit better and it'll be a good thing.
Pass me that thing.
And what's this test light? What's your thoughts on the Quintrex hood scoop?
We'll do the job.
Hood scoop or reverse cow? What's it? Is it still a hood scoop?
It's a hood.
I don't know.
Hood.
I don't know what the correct terminology is here. I'm sure someone will tell us that we're saying the wrong thing.
Maybe we can take that out on the swamp.
Yeah, well, we got the fan there. We got the fan and the bonnet, so we may as well make a swamp boat out of it.
Reverse cow and go gator hunting.
Yeah.
Do it in.
I hear something noisy. What it?
Donk.
Ka-dunk.
That's DonkMasters part there.
Who's
That's
coming in?
cute.
DonkMaster with his Z06 Donk.
That
What?
is. How big are those
Donk.
wheels?
It's just a Corvette swap. Basically a Z06 Corvette swap and a 71 Impala, I think it is.
How big are those wheels? Like 26s or something?
28.
Of course.
He tans, but he keeps them clean.
28.
Everyone has
28.
28s on their drag car. God bless
Damn.
America.
28-inch Ruchis.
So Turbo LS on 28-inch rims. What's your thoughts?
It's freaking cool, man. It's an LS6. So the good one.
What's an LS6?
It's like a fancy LS1.
Oh, cool. Oh, the Corvette engine.
Yeah.
Yeah, sick. This is cool as hell. I love it. It's just different. Like, we'd never have anything like this in Australia.
Can you even get 28-inch rims in Australia?
Yeah, Tempe tyres would be knocking them off like it's going out of fashion.
Oh, they stay up, they weighted. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Check the interior out, but
That's 6-star.
full Corvette interior too.
I don't know how you get this thing to hook, bro.
Huh?
I don't know how you get it to hook.
Called horsepower. Let this thing hook. I think hook them dirt room with it. Put a 2 inside wall. I tell you, 6-foot might scare your ass.
That's enough tomfoolery. Now we're going to get back to work.
Donk what?
Tomfoolery.
just getting into the nitty-gritty of the wiring, which is a lot of it is just power distribution. The battery and the cabling and everything's been replaced or rerouted. We're going to use the same cable, but routing it inside the car along the top of the tunnel. We've also got to wire the alternator a little bit differently to what I would normally do it on a normal car. Normally we'd just sort of link it up with the battery cable to the starter, and that would provide all you need. But in this particular case, because it's required by NHRA, is that when you turn off the battery isolator, the alternator also needs to be switched off as well from the rest of the car, because otherwise the alternator could keep the car running basically. So that alternator power cable has to run all the way to the rear of the car where the isolator switch is, and it has to be on the battery side of that. So when you switch off the isolator, all the power goes out and the engine stops. So it's just a safety precaution. That's our starter cable. It just pops up the top into the bulkhead connector that Woody and I have just fitted. The bulkhead connector is really there because I need power on the inside of the car to hook up the Haltech, all the power supplies to the Haltech fuse box. So it's just sort of a simple way of doing it, safe way of getting it through the firewall without any issues. I've also wired up the trans fans. Got a little fuse box that I use with 2 relays in it with some fuses, so it's all sort of self-contained. It's switched by the Haltech. We've already pre-wired that switching function out to a connector, and I just cut them off and shorten them because they're a bit long. I've got to do the same in the back of the car with the same sort of fuse box for the fuel pumps as well. So they'll all be relayed and fused in a nice little box, which is pretty cool. You know how much I don't like dirty wiring, so we're trying our best with what we've got to make it work. We don't have a battery terminal crimper, so we've had to buy these solder-on terminals that you sort of heat up and fill with solder and then plunge the connector into. It's not the way I'd like to do it, but we don't have any choice, so it'll still work fine. So now we just got to crawl around inside the car through the roll cage a lot, and I think I'll get Woody to do that for me.
Why me?
Because you've got double jointed knees.
Okay.
You can fold those suckers up behind your ear.
That's pretty fair.
Yeah, it is.
You know what else those knees are good for? It's walking backwards.
Backwards, man, backwards.
Backwards into a bush, Homer Simpson style. We've got a rear mounted battery. There's too much junk going on in the engine bay to put it there. I usually prefer to keep them in the engine bay if possible, because then you don't have to do stuff like this. But that's how it is. So cable wise, we got this big snake that was originally in the car. It's huge, like, I don't know, 0 gauge or something like that in American language. We've also got to run this alternator cable because we need it to go back to the battery, and we've also got this assortment.
The Skittle pack. That's just a rip-off of something.
8 wires, well, thereabouts, running to the rear of the car. A couple of fuel pump control wires. We've got stage pumps. The relays are in the back, same relay block as we've used for the trans fans. We've got a flex fuel sensor that needs power, ground and signal back to the ECU, and we've also got to drop down into a tail shaft speed sensor, which is usually mounted on the snout of the yoke, but we've got an 8.8 inch diff and we don't really know how they do it on these, but we've got someone on the case. Usually we just have a collar around a 9-inch yoke with a cherry sensor on it. We're hoping to be able to do that, but we'll have to make something up custom for it. So Woody's been beavering away in the sweat pit of a vehicle, running all these wires. We're trying to add a bit of weight to the car, and we've successfully done that with this bundle. We're wrapping it in this cool sleeve that I've only just recently found out about, but I actually saw it on I think it was a Holly Terminator loom. It's kind of like that snakeskin stuff, but it's a split. It's really cool. It's easy to work with. and you can easily open it up and service it. Benny got that off DCI, which is supplier of all the heat shielding products that we've been using as well. So it's good stuff. It's a bit nicer looking than split conduit, and a lot easier to work with than snakeskin sleeve or whatever you want to call it, the stuff that you can't split open. So I'm going to send Woody back into the car. It's probably about 6:30 at night, I suppose.
Time for
We're still sweating like very sweaty people.
Cheers, bro. Don't tell anybody.
We'll be back tomorrow and we'll wire some more and possibly get this thing going.
I like the front of our car way better.
I like the engine of our car way better.
Oh, of course, the engine's better.
See you tomorrow.
Drinks for me and my buddy Al.
What about me?
We don't like you.